name's not going to be on that card, and Justice Stratton's name is not going to be on that card. So that's my concern, is that, you know, they're going to go down ticket as well. So, you know, again, the dynamics are pretty fluid and they're unknown, but you can do, all we can do is spread the word, spread the message. Keep in mind that we're going to have absentee and early voting. You're going to have people going to the polls, or excuse me, going to the polling Board of Elections. You're going to have people that are voting in the comfort of their own living room via absentee ballots, and it's a real challenge then for me as a candidate to get my message out to these people, because I will never be able to receive enough donations to put 30 days of commercials on television and cut through the clutter and, you know, talk about, you know, my record as a Supreme Court justice and a prosecutor and a judge and all the other things that I've done. I won't have the ability to do that. So there's got to be other ways to get the message out, the importance of the race and the importance of the candidates. And that's, again, where organizations such as yours, individuals such as you come into play. Spread the word. Start spreading it now until people start going to vote at the Board of Elections, and I believe it's 30 or 35 days before the general election is when they can walk in there and cast their ballot, or they can request an absentee. They receive that and they fill it out and they send it in, and they don't even have to worry about what Chairman Frost was talking about, you know, whether the machine's going to work, or the veracity of the machine, or the reliability of the machine, because they're not going to be walking into the polling places. I think the buzz out there is you're going to experience a wait at the polling places because of turnout and because of the confusion over whatever machines or how it's going to be operated, etc. That's going to drive about 30 to 40% of the electorate to vote early or vote absentee. So it's important to get the message out, to get it out early. Don't just limit your message to the Supreme Court. Obviously, there's going to be issues, there's going to be candidates, and you are the informed 1% of our citizens that can effectively, intelligently, and passionately deliver that message. And candidates like me rely on citizens like you to do your civic duty. And we thank you for that, and God bless, and I would glad to entertain.
Are you going to stick around for a few minutes? Could we take questions at the end, or do you want to take them now? Will you not be here?
Well, I can stick around. So what's your definition?
Well, we have a couple of more people. Okay. I don't know. So why don't you take a few questions?
All right, make just a few questions
okay.
now, if there are any questions about it.
What do you think is the impact of that Common Pleas Court Judge Burgess ruling on the lethal injection protocols in Ohio? What do you think that will do?
Well, I think what it will do will precipitate a case before the Supreme Court, which then I will have to sit on, and a judge in the Supreme Court cannot opine before we have a case that comes to us on how we would think about it or vote upon it.
Does it effectively impose a moratorium as far as you're aware of? Or?
Not that I'm aware of at this point, but keep in mind that so far I've not seen any motions for stay, and I have not seen any other filings, but I'm confident that it's going to, you know, go up the food chain, so to speak, and land on our bench at some point. So I really can't talk about that. That's one of the you know, things about members of the judiciary. We can't telegraph how we would vote on things.
Yeah.
If we do, then we have to recuse ourselves. And I don't think people vote me into the judiciary so that I can sit on the sidelines when the controversy is before the court. So just a quick, both candidates for Supreme Court that are challenging Justice Stratton and me are from Cuyahoga County. And there's a big push in Cuyahoga County. They are very much supported by the unions and by the trial attorneys. If you pull up my opponent's website, there's some pretty prominent trial lawyers that are raising money, plaintiffs' lawyers, because they don't like the direction of the Supreme Court. They don't like the stability. They don't like the fact that we rule based on the law and not on the parties and not on the agenda. And that doesn't put money in their pockets. And unfortunately, some of the cases that I've written have been lead cases in that area, so I have managed to put a nice big target on my back. And they make no bones about it that if they're going to get somebody off the Supreme Court, they would like to see me go. So.
What is your website?
My website is o'connorforjustice.com, and there are pieces of literature on the table back there that have, they're half me and half Justice Stratton, and they have that information on how you can log on to our websites. We are going to have messages posted closer to September that you can download and send to all the people on your email list to send the message out to whomever you send messages to, to talk about the race. And that's a great mode of communication. It's a whole new world when it comes to getting your message out. No longer do you rely, at one point you relied on radio and the newspaper. And nobody advertises in the newspaper any longer, and very few candidates advertise on radio because people don't get their information that way anymore. And then television got so exorbitantly expensive, yet you have to be in all of the major, markets. And then, now the latest way to approach it is to also do some electronics, some internet, Facebook and MySpace. I always call it Spacebook. But between those two sites and, your website and all that, there's a whole level of constituents that you have to appeal to and you cannot ignore. And they are the younger voters that have been energized and will get to the polls, and you just have to meet them on their terms. So, back there.
Did I hear right? Did you refer to a case, a lethal injection case? Is that what the man referred to?
He referred to the lethal injection case by a common pleas court judge has ruled it in the state, but there was also a Supreme Court case
Is that to do with the death penalty or
Yes.
euthanasia? Death penalty.
Death penalty. Oh, not euthanasia. No, not at all. There's no legal injection, lethal injection for the purposes of ending the life of anyone other than a capital murder defendant. Yeah. Okay. Any other?
I have a question. Is it possible in the state of Ohio to make judicial primaries nonpartisan? Because especially in this county, if you're not a Republican, if you're a Republican, you don't vote for the judges because we don't have enough candidates out there. If the judicial races are supposed to be nonpartisan, should we not be able to vote for the candidates in the primaries and get the two best candidates up there?
And some municipal elections are nonpartisan, so you can have more than two people on the ballot, and then it's the top vote getter that gets they could win by 30-40% as opposed to a majority. It's different on the common pleas, the appellate, and the Supreme Court level, and that would take a legislative fix in order to make that a nonpartisan, or to open it up to just what I'm talking about, because you either have primaries, which are associated with a political party, or you do away with that, and then you have a pool of candidates that are running for one spot, and you would have the ability to vote whether they're Democrats or
Isn't that what
Republicans.
Washington State does? I believe that's what Washington State does.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, there's plenty of different ways to select members of the judiciary across this country. Some states appoint them, some states elect them. When you think about the controversy, should they be elected or should they be appointed, and who should figure out if they should be retained, I always point to the state of Hawaii, which is a lovely state from what I hear. I've never been there, but they get appointed by the governor, and after a certain number of years, there's a vote on whether they should retain them. The unfortunate part is that the only people that vote on the retention are the 9 members of the panel that the governor appoints. So you have retention by 9 members. I'd rather take my chances with the electorate than I would with a hand-selected panel of 9 people that decide who's going to be a member of the Supreme Court for an entire state. So I don't think we're ever going to do away with the elected system here in Ohio, because people like accountability. They believe that they have accountability through direct voting. So I think I've probably used up more than enough time here. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. I just drove up from Columbus to be here, and I've got my puppy out in the car, so I've got to get home with my dog, so God bless.